Next, we'll look at a series of protocols. The first one being FTP, that's File Transfer Protocol, then Trivial FTP, and then we'll look at Telnet. FTP is one of the original sockets-based protocols. It was used to transfer files from one location to another. It uses TCP, port 21, also historically used port 20, but these days most of the port 20 information gets tunneled through 21. So these days FTP uses TCP port 21. FTP also requires authentication. The problem with FTP, though, is again, its credentials were sent in clear text in the original protocol. So these days you want to be running FTP through an SSL tunnel or use another secure form of FTP. Otherwise, your usernames and passwords for the FTP clients are transmitted in clear text across the wire. Trivial FTP is another protocol, again based on FTP, but this is a protocol that does not require authentication. Trivial FTP was used back in the old days when we had diskless workstations where there was no place to store information on the client computers, such as TCP IP address and subnet mask, default gateway, operating system, etc. So a client would boot up the computer. On the network interface card, there was a special EEPROM chip that would hold what's called the boot P, that's the boot protocol information. This was a set of drivers that would get the NIC fired up. It would be a DHCP client, and then it would launch a Trivial FTP client service on the client box. This is just barely enough to get the machine awake so that it could now find a TFTP server on the network and download the operating system, which it would load up into RAM, and now we'd have a functional computer. Again, this was in the days of the diskless workstation where there was no place to record any information on the local box. Again, Trivial FTP was FTP with no authentication and was used in the early days of networking. The last one on this list is Telnet. Telnet uses port 23 and was used as a remote configuration tool in the early Unix days. We still use Telnet some today, but at the same time Telnet also had authentication in clear text. So again, my administrative credentials are sent in clear text over the wire. Real easy for a bad guy to steal this information and then log on and reconfigure all your devices.